Hi folks, welcome back to another vlog. This is Rick and Morty. I don't know the season or the number, but the episode title was Autoerotic Assimilation. Yeah, that is most definitely an episode which happened. Didn't do much to change my view on Rick and Morty, which is that the show's core theme, if you will, is that everything and everyone is terrible and nothing anyone can ever do will make anything ever better at all. Which, to be fair, at least it's doing better than South Park, which has exactly the same theme but appends on the end. Therefore, if you care about nothing, you will always win. Which is basically the attitude of your typical, anon hate lever. Your 4chaners, your YouTube commenters, that ilk. Which, just to be clear, I know I have some very nice people who comment on my YouTube. You're not who I mean. It's the other commenters. The ones who are more, shall we say, typical of what you usually see in YouTube comments. But, anyway, yeah, Rick and Morty at least doesn't go to that level because it recognizes that, in fact, you can't care about nothing, and trying will make you miserable. It is also of the opinion that everything else will make you miserable. So, I mean, you might try killing yourself, but as the end of the episode shows, even that might not succeed. At least I read that as being pretty clearly what Morty is attempting. No, what Rick is attempting at the end. With the device that fries the little creature, and then he tries to set it up to fry himself and passes out. Anyway, so the bulk of this episode was about kind of 3 concurrent plot lines, 2 more closely related than the others, though they're all kind of thematically related. That theme being people... Basically that theme being relationships fail. That's probably the best way to put it. So, on the one hand, you have Rick and Morty's parents, or not Rick and Morty's parents, Morty's parents, Rick's daughter and son-in-law, who are fighting. And in the course of their fight, they unleash a horrible alien monster that Rick was keeping prisoner, and said monster tells them off and then leaves. That's pretty much their plotline. The other 2 plot lines, one of them involved Rick rekindling an old love affair with a hive mind named Unity, which amused me simply because that's also the name of the hive mind that tries to take over the Earth in one episode of Superman the Animated Series. But that was more of a tentacle monster type thing. Sorry about that brief interruption. I let somebody else use my camera, and they did not recharge it when they were done. And I did not realize that before I started the video. Started recording. Where was I? So, yeah, Rick and Unity reconnecting after a breakup. Patton Oswalt plays another hive mind, more Borg-like one, which basically plays Patton Oswalt's usual role of the schlubby, nice guy who isn't so nice. Like, I actually liked that he was called out on a couple of times by Rick. That his, that he wanted more from Unity than just, as they put it, a practical alliance. Yeah, that's. So I like that the episode called him out on his nice guy syndrome, nice hive mind syndrome. But most of it involved Rick being a terrible influence on Unity and causing havoc across her planet, which eventually she realized and kicked him out. Meanwhile, Summer decides that she's going to try to free the people of this planet from Unity's control, which turns out to be a terrible idea because all of those people are terrible, and the minute they're free, they start a race war. Because this is Rick and Morty, and everyone everywhere is terrible. So basically, really, there's just nothing here but towering ultimate cynicism. No one can be trusted to run their own lives. They'll just fuck it up or start a race war, as the case may be. No one can be trusted to run anyone else's life because they will inevitably fuck it up and then they'll ruin everything. Nothing good can ever possibly happen. It's a comedy. Like, I'm sorry, this was just, like... I don't think I laughed once in this episode. It was just miserable and dreary. I'm sorry. Shane, who is the one who's commissioned all the Rick and Morty videos, I'm trying, man. I know that you like this show, and I'm trying, but episodes like this just... Like, the world of this show is just... The problem is, I don't think I've actually said this on this videos, but I am a strong believer that part of the point of animation, one of the things that it does so well is to depict the impossible. Depict things that are so impossible that they could not even happen in live action without looking really fake. Avatar The Last Airbender is a good example of this. Avatar The Last Airbender looks great. Bending looks awesome. There is no... people give Shyamalan a lot of shit for the crappy live-action movie he made, and deservedly so. He's terrible. But the best director in the world could not make Bending look good in live action. It just... No. No, there is no way to make people standing, 50 feet apart doing martial arts moves at each other look good, no matter how flashy you make the CG fire going between them. It's just going to look bad. I'm sorry. There's a lot of other reasons that Avatar The Last Airbender could not conceivably ever work as a movie, but that's one of them. And so, what's the point of animation if you're just going to do real life? That's kind of how I feel about this episode. We already live in a world that is in which nothing good lasts because nothing lasts, in which most relationships are terrible and even the ones that aren't eventually end, in which there's effectively nothing you can do to fix things. what's the point of doing a show that's like that then? You know? You can just turn on the news. Or go outside and interact with people. It'll have the same effect. You know, what's the point of a show if it's going to be nothing but cynicism and despair? We get enough of that in our daily lives. You know? You know, what's yeah, it basically, like, if you're going to do an entire episode about how everything is pointless and worthless and nothing matters and life is terrible, well, okay. If everything is worthless and pointless, then why am I wasting my time on this episode? You know? I could just as equally be doing any of a billion other things if they're all worthless and pointless anyway. Why don't I spend my time on doing something worthless, pointless, and joyful? You know? It's just... I mean, it's not a bad episode. It's well put together. It juggles its 3 plot threads well. It makes them interact in clever ways. You know, it's got the design on the baby-eating murderer in the basement is a good alien design. Voice actors are all good. You know, the alien cities look just alien enough while being recognizable. But it's just such a downer. Like, I'm not saying that all media has to be uplifting. I'm not saying that at all. You know? Something can be dark, it can be depressing, it can be sad. But this isn't even sad. This is just cynical. It's... You know, this episode is Rick's personality. It's who, you know, cynical and angry and uncaring and bitter. Bitter's a good word. You know, it's the televisual equivalent of, you know, being, I don't even know what it is. It's Rick. You know, everything that Rick is. Miserable, misanthropic, self-hating. That's this episode. It's just... It's not just that it's unpleasant, it's that it's unpleasant to no purpose. It's unpleasant and it wallows in it. You know, yeah, it's just... The problem is that it is neither enjoyable nor interesting. As long as something's one or the other, fine, but this is neither. This is just misery, 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 misery. Yeah. Sorry. I've got nothing. I just got nothing. I'm sorry. Bye.